Hello and welcome to our reviews. Today we'll be reviewing The Walking Dead Merle and Daryl 2-pack. So yeah, here we have Merle and Daryl from the Walking Dead AMC television series. Normally I don't get the TV series figures, I have some of the comic ones. But Merle and Daryl are not in the comics, so it makes kind of sense to get them as they are fairly cool characters. Daryl is a much older figure and Merle is a far newer one. They're still both fairly decent. Let's go ahead and zoom in for the articulation, sculpting details, all those sorts of things. Alright, starting off with a quick size comparison. Here we have 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe Wolverine. Here's Merle and Daryl. And here's a 6-inch standard Marvel Legends size Superior Spider-Man. Merle and Daryl are roughly the same height, although Daryl's proportions are a bit different. They're both taller than Marvel Universe Wolverine and both shorter than Marvel Legends Superior Spider-Man. So they're sort of in that in-between scale. They're in the 5-inch sort of range. I really don't know why McFarlane uses this scale, but they do. And they should fit in with the other Walking Dead stuff and with the Halo figures, I think, but they don't really fit in with anything else I personally collect. Anyway, let's get the other two out of here and just look at Merle and Daryl. Alright, moving on to our 360 spin. We'll go ahead and do them both at the same time. I think this really shows how much McFarlane has improved with their Walking Dead series, just comparing these two figures. Because Daryl is from Series 1, and Merle is from Series 3, 2 or 3. And there is just a significant improvement that can be seen here. First off, I think Daryl's proportions are a bit weird. Like, one of his arms, or maybe even both of his arms, they seem really short. I don't know, and his head's a bit bigger, and proportion-wise, they just started doing a lot better job, as well as articulation-wise and stuff that I'll move on to later. And the head sculpts also, as well as I'll move on to later. Anyway, let's go ahead and just start talking about detail on these two. Starting with Daryl, he's got sort of a grayish tank top shirt on. It's got dirt and stuff all over it. He also has some dirt and stuff on his neck. He's got some blue jeans down there, also have dirt on them, some brown shoes, and that's pretty much the extent of it. His arms are bare, and like I said, they are a bit oddly proportioned for the crossbow holding and stuff like that. They were just molded a bit weird, I suppose. Moving on to Merle, he has really nice sort of 5 o'clock shadow kind of stuff that goes down his neck. The shading's really nicely. You'll be able to see that better whenever I zoom in on the head sculpt. He's got a blue shirt over a white tank top, which has like a little sweat stain thing there in the front. He's got his bayonet arm on the other side. It's got all the little straps and stuff, and then it has the knife down there at the bottom. Looks really good. And then he has little holsters and pockets and stuff on his pants, and his pants are sort of a grayish color with lots of dirt and stuff on them. And then he's got brown shoes down there at the bottom. Clothing detail and paint and stuff like that on both of the figures looks really good. Now let's go ahead and zoom in on the head sculpts. Moving on to head sculpts, and starting off with Daryl. His head sculpt is okay. The actual sculpting and everything looks really nice. The beard's textured well. The likeness is passable. It looks a bit like Norman Reedus. He is looking off to one side, so that limits the posing options a little bit because he's got to be doing something that involves something over there. The hair's all sculpted nicely, and for the most part it's a nice head sculpt. I'm just saying that the likeness is not spot on. Merle, on the other hand, has a ridiculously good head sculpt. Like, that is almost spot on. For this scale, I think that is perfect. That looks almost exactly like Michael Rooker. It's almost just strange how much it looks like Michael Rooker. All the sculpting is nice. The hair's sculpted well. He has that sort of 5 o'clock shadow stuff airbrushed onto the neck and onto the face. It's sort of that light gray color. It all looks really good. It's a ridiculously good head sculpt. That's another thing that really shows how much McFarlane's improved is with the head sculpts. Because this is just infinitely better than Daryl is. Anyway, let's move on to some articulation. Articulation-wise, Daryl and Merle are a bit different. Merle is a lot better. Starting off with Daryl, he has a nice ball peg head, so that moves up and down and side to side. Ball joint shoulders in and out, forward and back. He has a bicep cut, single joint elbow, wrist hinge that moves up and down, and then wrist cut. He has a waist cut that doesn't move very well. Cut hips that move forward and back. Then he has an upper thigh cut, which moves really poorly, a single-jointed knee, which also rotates, and he has ball pegs in the ankles. Merle has an even better ball peg head that moves up and down, rotates, ball joint shoulders in and out, forward and back. He has a bicep cut, single-jointed elbow, wrist cut and hinge. He does not have the waist cut. He has ball joint hips that move out and forward a little bit,
Then he has single hinge and rotation in the knee, and ball pegs in the boots. Like I said, articulation on Merle is a lot better, mostly in the hip area. Still, the articulation could be better, but it's not as bad as it is on Daryl. Daryl's legs are really, really weird in the articulation department, and Merle's just overall better in that category. Now let's move on to some accessories. So this set comes with a fairly wide array of accessories. According to the box, this section over here of stuff is Daryl's, and this section over here of stuff is Merle's. Daryl has his crossbow. It has an arrow loaded into it, or a bolt, and two on the underside. It also has a little rubber strap. You can put it over his shoulder, but it doesn't really go over the head and shoulder too well, so it's pretty much just a one-shoulder kind of thing. You can get it over his head and shoulder, but it's not really long enough, and it doesn't really work quite right. He has a pickaxe and an axe. He can hold both of those two-handed pretty well. And then he has a set of keys from the prison. And he comes with a knife. I believe the black-handled one is his, and then this brown-handled one is Merle's. But the box actually only mentions there being one knife in there, so it's hard to really say. Merle has an assault rifle, which has a nice strap on it. It can go all the way around his shoulder and go across the chest, so it works pretty well. And he has a pistol, which has a holster in his front waist, as I showed you that earlier. So all these accessories are really cool, and just a very nice array of stuff to pose your figures with. That wraps it up for Merle and Daryl and all of their accessories, so let's move on to the packaging. Packaging-wise, Merle and Daryl come in this sort of tall, windowed box. It looks pretty good. Got a picture of the prison there at the top. Daryl, Merle, Dixon, crossbow, axe, prison keys, knife, and pickaxe on this side, and then bayonet hand, which is not an accessory, and interchangeable weapons. Very non-specific. Big window here where everything would be displayed. AMC's The Walking Dead picture of Daryl and Merle down there at the bottom. Walking Dead logo on both sides. Then on the back you get the figures from Series 4, which are Rick, Carl, Andrea, the Governor, Riot Gear Zombie, and Gas Mask Riot Gear Zombie. I don't really do much with the TV series, so I don't have any of these, but they do, for the most part, look like they would probably be pretty good if you wanted to pick them up. As is always the case with windowed boxes, this is good for in or out of package displays, so yeah, Daryl and Merle.
Alright, the rest of it for Merle and Daryl, so until next time, goodbye!
Hello, you've just watched one of my videos. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed my videos. If you didn't, run away and never return. Also, feel free to check out my other channels, Venom Raptor for all my variety gaming content, and VR Reviews for reviews of various action figures and collectibles. Thank you, and goodbye.